get that bastard. I wish we could 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 get.
Priplazim se potravi do tvojega okna in potem odprem zelo počasi tvojo sobo. Stopim v tvojo spalnico in potem te pogledam s tvojo 7 mesecev nosečo maternico. Spravim tvojega moža v spalnico, odrežem mu jajca z nožem in ga prisilim, da jih tam poje pred svojo nosečo ženo, zaposleni s svojimi jajci in proč, počasi ga pogledam, ko je skrvavi do smrti na tleh. Želim, da bi rekla, ne naredi ničesar več. Pogledam tvoj velik, težak trebuh. Že se malo premika s tvojim otrokom. Uporabim mesarski nož iz tvoje kuhinje, začnem operirati, ti rečeš, ne stori tega, jaz rečem, briga me za mačje brke, podignem ven tvoj diabeto, odreznem v glavo, poližem ga, da je čisto, je obsceno. Medtem ko skrojiš ga ubijem, sem samo hudoben dečak. Slug, bite, can't wait.
I could never be Andy Warhol's mother, because I don't dance and I don't sing. The only rhythm I know is on a porch swing. Can you imagine a hip mother like me in too tight shorts and boots to my knees, showing up at all of his art shows and standing tall on my tippy toes? His art has a very special beat, but some pictures I would like to delete. But I'll have to admit, my spirits rise every time he comes to town. I find myself just tagging along. His art has a message for me. That is what I want the whole world to see. But if someday we should meet, my oh my wouldn't.
Hello, this is a person-to-person message to Genesis PRH. Just wanted you to know you ain't got to.
benefit, they wouldn't be getting the money.
I am the slave of Genesis P. Orridge. There is no mind but the mind of Genesis P. Orridge. There is no truth but the truth that comes from Genesis P. Orridge. There are no lies but the lies that come from Genesis P. Orridge. There is no information, there is no non-information, but that emanates from Genesis P. Orridge. Genesis P. Orridge always was, always will be, and always remains the change.
Now all you have to do for the competition is try to figure out how all of those different things ended up like this.
Good afternoon.
There must be a cross line, huh?
Yeah, who did you want?
No, I didn't call you. I called 254.
No. This is 5807137.
Fucking hell.
Later in the year, the ICA had another in its long-running Let's Make You Sick series. This was called Prostitution and featured all the tools of the trade and the leftovers. Its star and creator was a Mr. Genesis P. Orridge. The purpose of this little creation was what, Mr. Orridge? Or can I call you P?
Basically, all it says is a very simple thing, which is that to know a person, you have to meet them. You can't go by second-hand information about a person.
When the Arts Council annual report was published, the chairman, Lord Gibson, said he deplored the events at the ICA, even if he was paying for them. Still, it was only £900, and P didn't care.
Would you like to play a gig at Oundle School on March the 16th, which is a Sunday? Unfortunately, it will be fairly restricted to more or less just schoolboys, although I know Alan Adams and that lot, they can come along, and yeah, people who I know who are into Golden Gristle. I can pay you a certain amount, probably about £180 if you bring your PA. You've got a PA, haven't you? I think Alan Adams Adams is going to ring you up.
Yes, just let's remember Gary Gilmore. That is all.
I simply accepted a sentence that was given to me. I've accepted sentences all my life. I didn't know I had a choice in the matter. When I did accept it, everybody jumped up and wanted to start to argue with me. It seems that the people, especially the people of Utah, they want the death penalty, but they don't want executions. And when it became a reality that they might have to carry one out, well, I started backing off on it. Well, I took them literal and serious when they sentenced me to death, just as if they just sentenced me to 10 years or 30 days in the county jail or something. I thought you were supposed to take them serious. I didn't know it was a joke. And, it's, well, to paraphrase Shakespeare, much ado about nothing.
It's January the 17th, 1980, and the Gary Gilmore Memorial Society is remembering him. Today we issue a commemorative book, a commemorative cassette, poor quality, a commemorative badge, and then we have a memorial meal of a hamburger and an egg. We will remember him.
That's like the rental on staying at Monty's house, is you have to dig up rocks for an hour a day to try and find food for the lizard.
Oh, for the lizard.
Yeah. Monty met Sid Vicious. Monty and I were together when we met Sid Vicious in London, in fact, near the Portobello Hotel.
Yeah, he was framed.
He was framed, yeah.
Definitely, the New York police think that actually some black guys broke in and killed her because she owed the money for heroin, and then, like, Sid was killed, so why do any more work, you know?
Right.
You know, so... doesn't matter.
He was a silly... But I read an interesting... Malcolm McLaren was saying in this Melody Maker thing that he was very pleased because Johnny Rotten had split to public image, but now people, when they think of the Sex Pistols, remember them... don't forget the table. People remember them as Sid Vicious, not Johnny. Assumptions seem one of the key elements of our cultural alchemy and death. We are asleep. The massive desires, non-evolution, conservatism, closing doors, sexual morals, all forms of political dogma, all forms of doctrine which suggest an answer to any situation are our enemy. The temple, the site of youth, is a symbol by its very existence. It works as an agency and a provocateur of ideas. By concentrating on making things happen, we make things happen. And hopefully, the temple becomes redundant to each person involved. We intend to become obsolete.
Does George really exist, or is he just a telephone answering machine? Stand 23, parachute, flight number 3.
This is Genesis. The track I want to play is by an American musician called Martin Denny, who I believe is also quite popular with the Yellow Magic Orchestra. He's one of my favourite musicians, and although it might seem that the style is not the same as the style that we use, the structures and the textures of the sound, I think, are very closely linked, and the seemingly illogical balance between voices, rhythms and melody also have a very strong effect on my view of the music TG make. So the track I'm going to play is chosen for those qualities and also for an element of fun. It's called Mumba.
Abongaloo, ay, moga ya ya ya, da boogadon, guru la cha cha, Mumba. Yumpado, yagadeo sa boogadon, yonga wabaziba, yonga wagaluba, Abongaloo, Mumba. Boogayaya, the boogadong, the bongaloo.
How do you actually describe your own music?
Psychic music or religious music.
Why is it sort of religious or mystical?
I think it's the only way we can go now. I think that the technology's been explored and the sort of roots of blues music and slave music have been explored, and now we've done the industrial music. You have to go beyond into when man meets space. I don't mean cosmic like Tangerine Dream, I mean inside the head, so that people can eventually have telepathic music and nothing's actually touched.
You mean it's silent?
Completely silent if you're recording in the room, but everybody's hearing things, yeah. That's what I want to do.
On Sunday night, though, is it going to be a bit ear blasting, do you think?
Oh, yeah, we are. Definitely. We're renowned for being pretty noisy and uncompromising. And Sunday, we hope to be as difficult as possible, seeing as it's such a commercial venue.
And what about special effects and things?
Well, we tend to specialise in that. We give a lot of advice to other people on special effects because we've got 2 people in the group who are very interested in electronics, and we use computers to process things. So we use, I use a £50 bass guitar through £1,000 worth of effects. Everything goes through as many effects as we can get, and that's our speciality really, is just mangling and processing sound.
And strange lighting and stuff like that as well?
Well, not this time, because Cabaret Voltaire are going to be bringing films and lights, so we're going to have no lights of any particular type. But we're going to do a videotape of everybody, which should come out later this year as a video compilation.
And what sort of audience do you attract? Is it possible to put them into any one age group?
No, they're all nondescript to look at. Very nondescript. Very suburban.
So you don't attract particularly outrageous
No,
audiences?
which I like. I mean, we don't... Spandau Ballet came to see us the last time we played, and Generation X and that, but they looked very uncomfortable and stayed at the bar most of the time, because they didn't fit in, because they just looked wrong, you know. Everyone else was just kind of stood there silently, taking in what happened. But we've had people from 40, 50 years old to kids of 12. We played to a school of 6 to 8-year-olds last year.
Really? How did they receive it?
They thought it was great. They loved it because it was crazy. They just screamed and yelled with us, you know.
This is our new album. This is from Midnight in the Oasis. Right on. Felt the starch, felt the shame, felt the ache, felt the ache,
You don't remember me, and I've forgotten you. It's not so long ago that we fist fucked to shit. shit on my knuckles, pain, pain up the ass for you. It was your mistake when you thought I'd hesitate. I shoved my greased fist right up to your prostate. Shit, shit on my knuckles, pain, pain up the ass for you. Vaseline, KY, Crisco, your sphincter muscles, then let go. Shit, shit on my knuckles, pain, pain up the ass for you. I primed your asshole with my vibrator. You knew you were going to get it sooner or later. I heard your screams from below. I worked my arm in your ass right up to the elbow. Shit, shit on my knuckles, pain, pain up the ass for you. Yeah, you don't remember me, and I've forgotten you. It's not so long ago that we fist fucked too. Shit, shit, shit on my knuckles, pain, pain up the ass.
I mean, the fact that in the end we all...
Everything that I do is because of Genesis P. Orridge. There is no information but the information that comes from Genesis P. Orridge. All other information is irrelevant information because it does not come from Genesis P. Orridge. Everything that everyone else says is lies. Only Genesis P. Orridge can speak the truth because only the truth comes from Genesis P-Origin. Those who do not know Genesis P-Origin should be eliminated because they then have no reason for their existence, because the only reason for existence is to serve Genesis P-Origin.
By nature's trick, I mean the fact that in the end we all die. fighting against those same old control systems that are trying to make people lazy and not think yet again.
In a conventional sense,
The record...
my number one favourite record of all time is Dance to the TV Things with Steve Wright. It has a great picture of him on the front of the kind of beard. He's standing in front of one of those really old ATV colour cameras.
By nature's trick, I mean the fact that in the end we all die.
And on Industrial Records, I've received a whole series of rather complicated letters from Industrial Records recently, which I haven't fully understood. But I understand that United has been reissued on white vinyl. It's been a long time since you saw any of that, with like a minute longer B-side than it was previously. I don't know, it's all very bewildering, but here it is anyway. It still sounds the same to me, I must admit. It goes like this.
No, have you heard anything new? Really?
And they didn't know it was coming on kinky, so it went and all that. That doesn't very funny. Then I put a tape recorder on as well, and the tape and the remarks were hilarious. Just a swishy plastic thing, you know. Yeah, it was alright.
What do you work at anyway? You work now?
I'm in a shop. No, that's it. Yeah, might have seen you on my channel. Yeah.
I don't think you have actually.
You think you were in one? Oh, well, I'm wasting time, aren't I? I'm wasting your time. Who wants this company? Well, what are you supposed to be doing now, then? Where are you?
I'm waiting actually to ring back as a solicitor.
Solicitor? What about?
Just changing my mind.
Your name? What, legally?
Yeah.
To what? I'll have to seek it out one day, I think.
Because it's not legal?
I'll have to seek it out one day.
Yeah.
Have you ever worked for, Dave Sullivan in any of his, books, you know, private, what they call private, or, made, no, not much part lane?
No.
It pays quite well, I believe.
I'm going to carry on writing. Never contacted
Are you writing letters?
Never contacted different people.
Oh, I might be able to get you some work if you're interested. You know, seriously, this on your own.
Yeah, I don't know, because it works.
Well, you know, I'll have a word with him, I'll go and see him. Well, why don't you stay at the flat then? But you might have to meet me then, you might not like me.
Because I've got all the letters to write. I might have to meet you.
Well, if I introduce you, yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Where would you introduce me? Where would you introduce me? It's,
well, you know, wherever you want to work. If you want to work, you could do some work for him.
Plastic things, isn't it?
You don't think you want to meet me, do you?
Huh?
You don't think you want to meet me? What sort of opinion you got?
I'm a bit wary of you, that's all.
Yeah, no. It's only because I'm not kinky fan of yourself, mate. Is that bad to do that often?
No, it's not bad. More often than it's going to be better.
Oh, yeah, just fed up with you then.
No.
What do you think, how old do you think I am?
Still getting it all right. Well, your voice when you sound when you're 20.
No, mid-30s.
I only want every now and again.
Oh, does it? I'll have to do it for it. I used to know one married girl who used to wank in front of me, but I'm now a bit older. Oh, I'm married, like, I hate getting on them. That's all right. I just bought a new car, seriously. That's an 260 red. Have you heard of them? You know, that thing is ridiculous. It goes 100, but they've only had it just over 100. It's like bread for me.
You like going past it?
That's the first one I've had. It's something new. My wife says it's because I'm getting old.
What, that you've got a fast car?
Yeah, it's probably true. Psychological reason.
How did Throbbing Gristle become a more or less musical group?
More or less. Boredom, of course. Well, we nobody else seemed to want to do it, and we just wanted to have some records we could play, so we decided we'd have to do it. We just did what was inevitable.
What was the story behind, what was it, cum transmissions, or I don't know how you pronounce it.
See, you ask something like that, but like that's 10 years.
Okay.
We did things for 10 years. It's from live sex shows in Amsterdam to art exhibitions in Germany, and God.
So Throbbing Gristles existed for 10 years?
No, not Throbbing Gristle. That's cum transmissions. That was kind of a performance group. We did a lot of sadomasochistic sexual things. And pornography, and various degrading acts, in public preferably. And then it kind of, we always did music as a hobby. Then we got bored with everyone thinking what we were doing was art, so we decided to spoil it by doing whatever else we were worst at.
How long
So
did you... Oh, excuse me.
we just did the music. And it coincided with the beginnings of the punk thing in London.
Did you find that that Throbbing Gristle's been confused with punk bands a lot over in England?
Initially, people expected us to do rock and roll, yeah, 3-minute rock and roll, because of the name and the image. But they soon learned. Many's the face of the young spiky head, looking confused and catatonic, drinking his beer and spitting into his own mouth in shock.
How does one spit into one's own mouth? I'm curious.
You watch Throbbing Gristle. Well, you sort of spit and it bounces off the wall of sound and hits you back in the face.
Sure, Industrial Records is a thing we originally formed simply to do our own records, but it seemed to us at the beginning of the year that would be fun. What is this laughing doing here?
I'm stopping it down.
I see. Excuse me. To carry on, it seemed to us at the beginning of this year that it would be fun to do other people's records, and one of the people that we thought would be fun to put on record was a guy called Jonas. I think one can say that, yes. And he has a band called the Leather Nun who work out of Sweden. He's a
By nature's trick, I mean the fact that in the end we all die.
All wars since the beginning of time were started by Genesis P. Orridge in order to make more room for the expanding mind of Genesis P. Orridge, because there is really only one mind of the universe, and that mind belongs to Genesis P. Orridge. All other minds do not exist except the mind of Genesis P. Orridge. There is no such thing as peace because Genesis P. Orridge does not allow peace to exist. He only creates chaos, turmoil, and confusion, which are the true states of existence since the beginning of time and will go on forever and ever. And the only person and mind that can last forever and ever is the mind of Genesis P. Orridge. The rest shall cry.
Your mother. Tell me about your mother. What did your mother tell you?
My mother told me when she worked on death row and they took that dude in to hang him and his head popped off and went down them 13 stairs and rolled over by her, it scared the her. You know, so I said, wow, that sure is a far-out trip, Mom. So then when I got up on death row in cell 13 for 9 counts of murder, 1969, and I looked at her fears, that guy's head popping off that hangman's noose, and I said to myself, my goodness, what the hell am I doing here?
Exactly. The way I feel about it, this is Stacey, is that it was something that we started a long while ago now, with the idea, I think, that it would be fun to express the ideas that we'd had for a long while in a new way, and sound was an obvious way to start. And when we started, it was really exciting. Well, it's still exciting now because we're still discovering new ways to produce sound that aren't just a rehash of everybody else's old formulas. And at the same time, we're getting to meet lots of people who are interesting, and I think that's really important.
Mm. Do you see it of breaking down control systems, breaking down
to a certain extent, I mean,
the established order in the music business?
The established order in the music business is collapsing by the day, and it's nice that I think that if we've indicated to some extent at least that it's possible people that have absolutely no musical knowledge whatsoever come along and make things that people like to hear.
That way you might get a wider range of stuff without the snobbery involved with the people who've been in the business.
And also without their financial control.
Disco.
By nature's trick, I mean the fact.
You scared to die?
Sometimes I feel I'm scared to live. Living is what scares me. Dying is easy.
Any questions?
Yeah.
No immediate.
The questions start when you start. They always come at the end, the best questions.
Why? Can I have a glass of scotch? Sure. I mean, this is rock, you know what I mean?
You get drunk, you know, and then there's groupies come in the door.
Do you like photographers? What? No. Do you mind? Good. I just wonder. I'll take some photographs and you can see like a profile shot, like you know you get in prisoners and you get straight on and then side shots, yeah? I don't think that would work very.
Are most of your lyrics totally improvised when you perform live, or do you begin with a theme and go from there?
Mainly improvised. Usually I have a subject. If I've read a book that seems kind of interesting, or I've seen a motor accident, or something good on the television. Get a lot.
That the inspiration behind Hamburger Lady?
That was from a letter from a friend who's a kind of brain damaged doctor in Oregon, who used to be a Vietnam medic, and now he works in the terminal ward in Oregon, because I figured it out, he works there because if he controls the insanity and gets a kind of daily level, he doesn't go totally insane. Whereas if he tried to sort of switch off from that scene or sort it out for himself, he'd go totally over the top. So he has to have an amount of horror every day, and that way he can just about hold himself together. And he sent a letter describing one of the cases he'd come across, and I thought it was interesting. So we decided to try and do something that reflected in sound the situation.
I think that cut was very effective. I know a couple people who become very uncomfortable every time that one's put on.
Yeah. That happens with a few things. Like the first side of Second Annual Report, when it first came out, the manager of Virgin Records took it home and played it to his girlfriend and went off to make a cup of coffee. And when he came back in the room, she was on the floor in tears, crying, "Get it off, get it off." And he told us about it. We were very proud of that.
All this talk about hamburgers and stuff's made me, well, I hate to say hungry, but curious to say the least. So why don't we take a break and listen to Hamburger Lady from the new Throbbing Gristle record? Fair enough?
Well, that's fine with me, Bob.
Good. Then we'll do it. This is KFJC with interview from Throbbing Gristle, Hamburger Lady, right now.
Goodbye, no, goodbye, no, goodbye, no. Hello, this is George. I've been trying to get you, but it's quite impossible. Anyway, I'll keep calling you back. See you all soon, eh?
It's in the tiny room, watched by actors. Open up and is playing trumpets, dark twinny and heavy water for the glory of good. Dark songs of sunlight flower enclosed in your skin. That's its pressure burst to my body after eroding my movements. All perfection spins in my arms. Stolen kisses, fa 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 fa. Stolen kisses, fa 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 fa. Stolen kisses, fa 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 fa. In retrospect, this beauty is the second part, the moon. Upwards and onwards, the prize is the game to come, and there's nothing to miss. In the laughter and tears of love, there were always difficult moods, yet sensual bonds of obsession, passing the traps of time, like feathers gentle and warm. Stolen kisses, fa 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 fa. 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 Fa 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 fa. Stolen kisses, stolen kisses.
Could not himself have conceived of a more monstrous, macabre scene of human terror and massacre than that which took place at his own residence in the early morning hours of August the 9th, 1969.
Beautiful honey blonde Sharon Tate, 8.5 months pregnant and anxiously awaiting her first baby. That night she pinned up her large dogs, because earlier she'd taken in a stray kitten. Her husband, Roman Polanski, was filming in London and not due home until the next day. He'd asked his boyhood chum, powerful Wojciech Frykowski, to stay at the house and look after Sharon. Paul Richard Polanski, a tiny soul who died, never having lived. Abigail Folger, heiress to...
Everybody is afraid of death.
By nature's trick, I mean the fact that in the end...
A tremendous, world-shattering conflict is being waged.
Your life is your responsibility. Only by your willingness to learn the rules of self-survival, well in advance of the need, can civil defense help you. Many Americans are overcome with feelings of despair, merely because they have felt an insecure feeling since man made the atomic bomb. For what man has made to destroy,
Now, in this, the most serious time of our modern age, I beg you to realize that the fight is on. 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 Fight is on. The fight is on. The fight is on. The fight is on. The fight is on.
It is the key to the temple.
Orridge of Psychic TV. Genesis, welcome to Saturday Live.
Hello, Mark.
Now, the single that you've got out is called Godstar.
Right.
What's it all about?
As it says at the beginning of the record, it's about Brian Jones, who was one of the Rolling Stones, a classic rhyme if ever there was. And basically it's a tribute to Brian Jones, who I was both a fan of when I was young and still am now, and an attempt to remind people both of his importance in rock music, which has been somewhat forgotten, and also as a demonstration of our theories of music and how pop music should go now, which is with a reference to the 60s and the kind of songs he was involved in with the early Rolling Stones and their rich, open pop music with a human beat rather than a mechanical beat, and an 80s technology.
Brian tragically died, didn't he, in a swimming pool in the 60s. Did you get to meet him before that?
When I was a 15-year-old schoolboy fan, I met him in the TV studios in Birmingham by bumping into Mick Jagger, literally knocking his Coke almost out of his hand, being taken upstairs to the restaurant in the studios and being invited to sit with all the Stones for about 40 minutes, and I just stared awestruck at Brian Jones, and I'm not ashamed to say I was just speechless and infatuated with the Stones and Brian Jones in particular. To me, he's always been the ultimate pop star, and still is.
What do you think he'd be doing now if he was still alive?
Well, through doing this record, I've thought that he's probably a very modern and contemporary rock star, and if you saw him in the street now, he would be both visually amazing and fit in with the scene now in his clothes and his look, and also as he always used marimbas and sitars and mellotrons and the latest technology and gadgets, he'd probably be using Fairlights and all the things that people use now, sampling and digital things. I think he'd be doing very radical work, a bit like Eno and the Talking Heads as a pop thing, and also film music.
All right, let's have a listen to the single now. It's Psychic TV, and this is Godstar.
Off the
seem to steal your glory. They never even told your story.
Godstar. Genesis, a deliberate Rolling Stones feel to the record there?
Oh yes, it's a deliberate reference with the background chords, because we wanted to make the record describe the era and be appropriate to the era, as well as being a modern pop song.
Do you think the Rolling Stones would be a lot different now, or would have been a lot different if Brian Jones had still been there?
I don't think Brian Jones could have stayed in the group, even if he was still alive today, really. I think the split was inevitable.
Well, there's actually a movie coming out. Tell me about that.
Well, of course, the name Psychic TV, the TV part means videos and films, and we always work with film and video. We've just finished making a video yesterday to go with this record, but the video in itself is a sketch towards a movie about the life of Brian Jones and the 60s era and all the people involved and the feeling of it, the richness, the flamboyance, and the confusion as well.
When will the movie be coming out then?
Well, it's going to be a feature movie, a feature film, so I would imagine it will take 2 years to finish, but we have been working on it since his birthday, February the 28th.
So we've still got quite a wait before we can see anything.
Well, we spent a year doing research, and yes, like any real movie, it just takes time and money.
What have you actually been doing as Psychic TV?
We've been making records since 1981 and trying to convince people that pop music should return to its original and classic elements, which is the melodic song followed by the music with intelligence as well as entertainment, and with sensuality as well as discipline. I think that pop music can become very rich again and very open and very entertaining and very stimulating.
All right, Genesis P-Orridge of Psychic TV, thanks for popping into today's Saturday Live. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Bye.
5 to 6 it is, our live band today at the balcony. This is called It's a Wonderful.